Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fulyana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec. And as we record, this is our first recording for 2025. So, our very best wishes to everyone listening for a happy, healthy, and challenging in lots of ways new year. Today, we're going to look at a case study. It's one that Fulyana has suggested, but I'll give you the background for it, and then she can talk to it first off. The case study revolves around someone who works in retail in a customer-facing role. They love their job, but of late, they feel that their needs are not being considered at all. In terms of background for the team, it's a great bunch of people. We all get along well, different age groups, different stages of life, some with babies, some with school kids, some with elderly parents. For the person themselves, their family are all grown up and mostly live overseas. The issue now is that whenever a team member has to take unplanned time off for personal reasons, I get called upon to come in from my time off most of the time. I'm okay with it, but lately I feel I am the default person and expected to fill in. I believe it might be my fault for letting it go on for so long. Now I feel I must address this. Any tips would be much appreciated. Let's hear what herself has in tips.
Okay. Well, I think perhaps because it sounds like a good team and everybody gets on in a good environment, it doesn't sound to me like they're trying to take advantage, obviously making assumptions here. It sounded to me more like it sort of became a habit and a pattern. So you're okay for them to say you're the backup and have made yourself available very kindly. And therefore, what had happened there is that then just became how it happens, right? I think there's no need to blame yourself and say it's your fault or not your fault. That's not that. They will understand that you're being very kind. I think it's time to communicate, though. I think you can't let it go on anymore because now you're feeling some feelings which aren't really fair, and you want to address it and continue this harmony in the group. So communication is to just say it. Just say, look, guys, I've been doing this. I've been happily doing it, but you don't know this, but I actually many times I had to actually cancel my own arrangements to fit in because I didn't want to let you down. However, I can't keep doing that because then I'm not getting my time. Because of that, why don't we look at the process where we can have a rotating roster perhaps, where we could say if the person doesn't come, the next person on call, if you like, emergency call, whatever it is X. And if they're not available, it goes to Y and so on. Have a chat, do it just calmly and nicely because it is, and come up with a solution. And the solution is for all of you to do it. One thing, it sounded to me like your nature is that you like to keep going in and helping and doing stuff. So when you open the discussion, don't put your hand up straight away about coming up with the process and documenting it. Make sure others get involved. So it's not your responsibility. It's the team's responsibility. And I emphasize that simply because the givers nearly always will do that. And then they give, and then they realize, oh my God. This is my suggestion, and have the procedures so that everybody can follow them and not default to you or someone else.
Okay. First thing in the new year, I am going to completely disagree with the process.
All right, then, good. Go for it.
I think you should lead with the process, with here is the solution, not make it personal to start with, but make it about the issue. Just for me, by coming in and talking about me, I feel this and I'm feeling this and all of the I stuff. For me, if I was a manager hearing that, the barriers would go up straight away. In me talking about it, I'm just talking about how I would react if that process happened. What I would much rather see is someone come in and say, I know that it's difficult to fill in the blanks when someone has to take leave unexpectedly, and we all appreciate one another's work. What I'd like to do with the team is sit down and talk about how can we have a more equitable process, a process that doesn't rely on any one person filling the gap. That heavily relies on there being more than one person to fill in those gaps. And that's probably what we don't know about this situation. Is this the only person who can fill in? And I do think, I do agree with you that I think it's become a habit, and I think it's become a pattern, and it just becomes a no-brainer for the management team to say, oh, well, so-and-so will slot in there, and we know that they know the job, and we know that they can pick up any of these roles and do all of that. Is it time to think a bit more broadly? Is it time to have a bit of a paradigm shift about how you fill those gaps? You know, if you're in a customer-facing role, we've all, over the years, been at places where they're obviously short-staffed. And we, as customers, we put up with it. We understand, you know, well, for the most part, we understand. We know that there are some people who are just impatient about life generally. But my approach, the approach that I would appreciate as a manager is if someone came to me and said, I think that as a team, we need to sit down and think about this issue, because the habit that we're in, the pattern that we're in, is not sustainable, because it's not sustainable. So what happens when this person gets called in and they're not well enough to go in? They'll go in anyway, because that's their focus is, I've got to help out the team, I've got to do this, they're depending on me. And so that builds almost unconscious resentment, is that my needs are not being met. And it builds this guilt as well, that I should have stood up, I should have said something, you know, and it's always easier to say things at the beginning of a process rather than when it's got out of hand. So my approach, my suggestion would be to look at talking to communication, obviously, but talking to your manager first of all about, can we as a team sit down and work out a simple process that covers everyone's needs in these situations? Because often I think what happens in these situations is that because they're of the moment, and so someone rings in and says, oh, I can't come in today, I've got to do this, or, you know, the kids are sick, whatever else it is, then there's an immediacy to fix that problem. And you fix the problem without process, then it's not a sustainable way of managing that issue, which is always going to be an ongoing issue. It is an issue for every business that has a mix of people, whether they're retail, whether they're customer facing or not. Yeah, everyone's got a customer, as we've talked about before. Process is what is going to be the long-term solution, the sustainable solution for this issue. And it's about working with the team to do it, rather than going in and pointing the finger inward at myself and saying, oh, I've got this problem, I need to do this, I need to do that. I think you take the personal out of it, makes it easier to find the solution.
I'm okay with it.
She's okay with it. I bet you would do it if I was there. So I think for that case study, let's say that we would like you to look at process. So you've got a couple of approaches there. Talk to your manager, first of all, about how you're feeling, or talk to your manager about the process itself. But I think that we both agree that a process is what's going to be sustainable in that particular situation. So if you've got a situation like that and you have found a solution in terms of approaching the issue, please let us know so that we can share that as one of our other podcasts as a result of having the interaction with you. But for now, I'm Kim Bailey, she's Fulyana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec.